Y'all don't need to see my taskbar. That a little smaller. There we go. All right. Well. Oh, my shirt's getting keyed out. I think it's the green reflecting off of the monitor for the game I'm working on. The floor is very green, so it's I think the light that's bouncing off is causing my shirt to get keyed out. Okay, well, I'm Trashwizz, Wizard of Trash. We're going to start with our stand-up meeting, because I'm used to working in an agile environment, right? So, what I worked on since my last stream, what I'm working on right now, and man, one of those guys is straight up horizontal up on that platform there. You see that? That's interesting. And what I'm going to be working on between now and next stream. So that's what I'm going to cover first. Now, since last stream, I do have a new feature to show you, and it's this little switch camera button here. So what will happen when I press this is, instead of taking this sort of detached view of the little robots, it's going to basically pick a robot that's either doing something right now or about to start doing something, and give us a third-person perspective focused on that robot. And it's sort of just the beginning of some changes we're going to be working on today to make watching them a little bit more of a pleasant experience, right? So if I click this, boom, now we're following whoever this is. Now there's still some quirks, right? I'm using a component on Godot that allows it to sort of adjust the distance between the camera and the character using a spring arm. And I have collision turned on right now, and I probably ought to make some adjustments to that, because the main thing I want the camera to collide with, I haven't really implemented yet. And if I click switch camera again, it takes us back to this normal view. But the next time I click it, it might pick a different robot, right? There we go. And, you know, we watch someone. Yeah, the arm is detecting those other little guys, and it's causing it to zoom in unpredictably there, which is kind of fun, but that's not the intended behavior. I already know what I need to do to change that, right? So that covers what I worked on since last stream. Now, as far as what I'm going to be working on today, I have a handful of things I'm going to try to get done. And I meant to make a little checklist I could show, but I didn't have time to do that. I'm just too filled with cauliflower tacos right now to do that. But I will go ahead and say that there's some behavior for the chatter for the drones that isn't fully implemented yet, where they walk up to another drone and they should chatter with them. They should both be doing it, right? They're not currently both doing it. It's just the one that initiates that's doing it right now. I also want the ability for other nearby drones to join in on some activities, and chatter is one of those. So if one of them walks up to another and starts chattering, I want nearby drones to be able to sort of hop in and do the chatter too with them, right? That would be really great. That would be really fun. I also kind of have my eye on that bug that causes them to buck a little bit while they're moving, and sometimes sort of rotate to be on their butt, I guess, when they're on the ramp. I don't really 100% know what's causing that, but I have a hunch. So there's a couple things I can try to fix that. And then lastly, I want to make that switch camera behavior a little more interesting. Mainly, I want to be able to, when I click the switch camera button, I want it to be able to, that's not going to be the best example because it's so close. I want to be able to automatically switch from following one drone to following another drone on some sort of a timer in this mode. Kind of similar to the game My Pokemon Ranch and how one of their modes works, right? And I also want the details of what that drone is up to appear in this little text box at the bottom of the screen here, which currently just says example message, right? currently nothing is sending any text to that. And I want that to sort of show us what it is that we're looking at right now, in a sense. Especially in this particular camera mode that's following the little drones, right? Instead of at a distance. So that's currently the game plan. Those are the things I'm going to tackle. I have a couple ideas maybe for bonus things to hit if I've got extra time, or I decide to go long and I've already finished everything else I was trying to do. But for now, I think I've got plenty on my plate, right? Now, as far as that bucking bug goes, you can kind of see there are a couple of drones. One is sort of tilted up here and has the little chat emote going on. I have a strong hunch the reason it's doing that is because the target position that they're moving towards is being used to feed the part of the character that has the visuals a rotation, a position to point to. And I suspect that the point it's trying to path to may be suspended in the air for those different positions. Because if it's trying to path to the drone's position, I don't think their anchor point is actually on the floor. But that is the direction they should be moving and pointing to, I think. I may also just have to do something about intercepting the rotation and then giving the visuals a different set of instructions or something. And there was actually another thing related to the pathfinding that I wanted to adjust. And that was, currently, they are getting the position of their target every single frame, which I believe is expensive in terms of computing power. And a solution to that is to do it less often than every single frame. So I will be trying to implement basically a variable someplace that's going to decide how many frames until the next check that they'll all sort of use as a reference value. And then in the future, if we're feeling really spicy, we might be able to set something up that will let us modulate how often all the little drones are trying to find their target based on how many of them there are. So we can create some kind of an equation that will throttle how often the drones are checking their pathfinding based on how many of them are trying to do it, based on performance or settings or some other metric, right? Use a derived value instead of just something I'm going to set in the inspector. So that's the plan. And I think it's time to go ahead and dive in, right? So we're going to change the view. There we go. And y'all still do not need to see my taskbar. There we go. That should be fine. That should be plenty good. All right, so I can adjust my seating here. I've got my water. I've got my little guys. They've all got cameras attached to them right now, which is probably not the best way to do it. I don't think it's going to be good to have so many camera components in the scene at once. Eventually, I'll probably just have one camera that bounces around between the different drones based on who we're looking at. But for now, I have it scripted so they all have a camera, and then we're just using script to control which one is currently like the active or main camera or whatever. First things first, I think we ought to look at how often they're pathfinding and find a way to limit that. That's going to be, I think, our first test. So let's go into script here. Let's see, activity mod, drone behavior. It's not going to be here. And we're going to close that because that's part of an older version of the drone that I don't need anymore. Drone body, drone brain, drone mover is old. We can close that. Maybe. Well, it depends on, is this the thing that does the strings? No, I think that was drone brain. Close, or it may have been drone behavior, right? Motor's good, game manager's good. Sample guy root, we don't need that anymore. We're gonna close that. I think we may have actually needed drone behavior for Nope, I don't think we need that either. Oh, I opened the wrong one. I opened colony behavior. Where's drone behavior? There we go. Does this have the thing that, yeah, so this was the script that was talking to that text box and saying, using, like, sort of creating the strings that get displayed for what the drone is currently doing at a given time. I did a version of that before that is no longer any good now, but it'll still be good to have that as an example, right? So we'll close that, and we're going to go, I want to say it's in drone body that we do all of our scooting around, right? So let's see, process, physics process, here we go. So we have, yeah, if movement node, sorry, if shared movement mode is approach, this is when we're doing the get path, get target position, etc., etc. So what we probably want to be doing is setting this, we probably want to move the nav, target position, current position, new direction, nav. We're going to probably take these two lines, we're going to put them in their own function that we're going to call less often than every single frame. So we need something that's going to decide when to call this and when to set new direction, basically. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to copy it, and we're going to paste it down here into a new function. So we're going to go func update nav. No. My habits from Unity, man. They die hard. Pass. There we go. That's what I needed to do. So we have these. So we're setting nav target position and new direction in this update nav function. So then we probably want to do, want to have some kind of a counter that gets set. Some kind of a variable local to the drone body that's tracking what frame we're on, and then asking, well, I mean, we could do it locally for now, how many frames, but then eventually it probably need to be on like a global script that gets loaded automatically, so that it's basically sort of like a singleton at that point, where anybody could be like, hey, how many frames in between nav checks should I do? How many frames? So for now, we'll just do, what do I want to call this variable? Something frequency maybe. So it's the number of frames in between nav checks, right? Maybe just call it nav frames. And we're going to specify int. And for now, we're going to do once every, we could do something ridiculous and do, well, we're going to do something non-ridiculous first, once every 5 frames. And then for a test, we can set that to a ridiculously high number to see how that affects their behavior, right? So we've got nav frames, and we might as well do variable current nav frame int, so that is 0. And that's the variable that we're going to increment and use to keep track of what frame we're on and when we're going to be checking nav again. Now, physics process, let's take a look at this. How often is this called? Is it called once per frame? I don't know. I don't fully remember. Is process once per frame? Happens every frame as fast as possible. Okay. So we should probably be doing the nav checking in process. We definitely don't want to move it until physics process, because that will allow it to like collide with stuff and not phase right through them, which is a mistake I've made before. So then we probably ought to have some sort of a gate that decides whether or not we're counting frames, or we could just count them all the time and just simply set them to 0 as soon as we enter the approach mode where we know we're navving, right? Because I don't want to have like declare very like a Boolean or something as to whether or not we're navving, and then use that to decide whether or not we're counting, right? So, well, except we're going to be calling the nav checking function inside of process. So we don't want to be calling that if we aren't doing it, right? So I guess we could declare it as a Boolean first, but we could make it a function later and have it check a bunch of conditions to see if it meets the criteria for actually navving, right? So we'll do var is nav. Navving, I feel like navving would have 2 V's, right? Bool, false, cool. So if is navving, then we're going to do current nav frame plus equals 1. Then if, nope, don't need parentheses. It's not Unity. We're in Godot. Habits. If current nav frame greater than equal nav frames, then we want to do update nav. And current nav frame equals 0. Very cool. So then the last thing I want to do, whatever is calling shared movement mode to become approach, I feel like that's the brain is doing that, right? Let's find it. Is approach on here? Is thinking about it. No match. How about the activity mod? We've got approach in here. Okay, so we're setting body move is approach. So we can go ahead and also tell body dot current. I already forgot what that variable was called. Current nav frame. We're just going to copy it. Okay, body current nav frame. We want to set that to 0. Anything else setting approach? Okay, it is not. So we can save that. We're definitely going to save this. So we know how often we're calling it. We know when we're updating nav. We now need to pull that logic out of the physics process, right? So in approach, we have this nav target position, new direction. We get rid of this entirely, I think. But for now, actually, before, we're just going to comment it out. I'm going to say that this is moved to its own function. In process. Let's save it and let's see if it works. It should work. Let's test it. Make the game window a little bigger. I should probably make the game window bigger in settings so that y'all can see it a little bit bigger. Okay, I didn't see anybody trying to approach anybody else. Got some wandering, got some space out. Waiting for somebody trying to chatter. Oh, somebody did want to chatter. I don't know if it's working. In fact, it doesn't seem like it's working. Okay, that's not good. Why is that not working then? So we have this. Oh, okay. For one, something is setting. Oh, is it setting is naving? No, I don't think it is. Okay. Well, now things are going to get a little stickier, right? So not only would we need to do toggling something to is naving, but we also need to toggle it as not naving when they aren't doing that. Oh man, I don't think doing that from activity mod is a good idea. I think instead we probably need a function on body that handles the change in movement mode and can do the naving toggle for us, right? That's going to be the safest way to do it, so we're going to do that. So we're going to do func set, what do we want to call this? Set movement mode, new mode. Okay, so we're going to check shared real quick to see what all the movement modes are. None, wander, and approach. Cool. So if new mode, oh, not new direction, shared movement mode, none. And then we're just going to do that for all of the different outcomes of the enum right now. Shared movement mode, wander. This part's maybe a little boring. We'll get to the fun stuff here soon. Elif new mode, shared movement mode, approach. And then else is going to be for a secret fourth thing that is not defined yet. So when that happens, we're going to do I want to say, is it current movement mode? What is the variable that we care about here? It's just move mode. Okay. Mode equals. Oh, we can actually just do equals new mode, right? And then we do pathing, or is pathing, is naving. That's what it was. Is naving is true. And in fact, we want to do this for all of these, except is naving is going to be false on the other ones, because we don't want them using the naving function if movement type is none or if it's wander. We don't want that. We don't want them trying to find a friend if they're not actually going to get any closer. Oh, thank you so much for the sub. Saber Saver. Saber Saver. Saber Saber. There we go. There's no V there. What am I doing? I can't talk. Thank you so much for the sub. We're trying to make their pathfinding a little more efficient right now is the game plan. Okay, I think we're gonna put some logic in here. We're gonna do is naving is false, but if it's not one of those three types of things, if it's not none, wander, or approach, then I haven't actually scripted it yet. So we need to put a print statement there. I think it's print debug is what we want. Let's see. We don't recognize this new movement mode. All right, so we have all that. And now we need to call set movement mode when activity mod is setting it instead of just actually setting it. So instead of body.move mode doing stuff, we do body.set movement mode, shared movement mode approach, and that should be much safer. That will trigger all of the other stuff we want. We also want to do, let's find all the other places where we set that here in body. Okay, there's movement mode none. I'm going to change that. There we go. We're calling set movement mode instead. That's good. There's another movement mode none. Let's fix that. None. Very cool. We're just replacing stuff today. That's not all we're going to do, but that's how it feels sometimes, right? Okay, here's the thing though. None of these say anything about movement mode wander, right? And they get that mode sometimes, but where? So all right, so we're checking if it's wander. It's safe to check. We're setting there. Damn, is the brain doing it now too? Here we go. We have a movement mode none. That has to change. None. Very cool. We have this, we have the wander set. There we go. That has to change too. That has to become wander. Or we're going to have a problem. They're going to be pathing for no reason. I think that's the last of them. Now we can save these all. I think that'll do it. Fingers crossed. Let's see how this goes. Let's see what happens. Okay. Not seeing any errors. We've got a friend detected. We've got a successful chatting. Let's let it let it ride for a second here and see if they're consistently not having any problems finding their friend. We got a whole gaggle of people chatting over there. That's in the robots rather. That's great. I think, yep, we've got some pathfinding there. Okay, so once per 5 frames appears to be working fine. So now we do the next test, which is let's make them wait a ridiculous number of frames just to make sure that it's working the way I think it is supposed to work, right? So here we go, nav frames. I think it's 60 frames a second here. So if we do 600 frames, then they should have a very hard time actually getting to their target. So let's see. Actually, before we do that, rather than set nav frames to 0, when we say naving is true, we're going to do current nav frame equals nav frames so that they path at least once right away. We want them to path once, or else they won't know what direction they're going in, right? That should allow this to sort of kind of work if their target is not moving. But if their target is moving, they're not going to find them because they're waiting too many frames before they're pathing again. Okay, a lot of people waiting, spacing out, wandering, more wandering, good. Somebody wants to chatter. Okay. Okay, interesting. I think they the chatter. Okay, that's too many frames. So I think I may know what's going on. And that is, I think the pathfinding sort of assumes a non-straight path. And so they're just not getting their next destination often enough for it to matter. So this doesn't work for ridiculously long distances. Oh, 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay, testing 1 2 3. Can y'all hear me? Testing 1 2 3. It looks good on my end. Interesting. Is anybody in chat not able to hear me talk? Testing 1 2 3. Is anyone in chat able to hear me? That would actually be a better thing to ask. Okay. I've got at least one person who can hear me. That's good. Okay. Huh. All right. Well, at least one person can hear me, so, Okay, apparently just one person in chat is having a hard time hearing me. Huh. I don't have a good answer to that, but maybe it may be a settings issue. Like it could be that actually let me let them know. There we go. Yeah, it may be a audio balance issue on their device, perhaps. Okay, they're going to try leaving and rejoining. Huh, okay. Well, hopefully we get that resolved. So, where were we? Oh yeah, frames. So 600 is not going to work. I think it's because they're basically getting the next point on the path and just moving in that direction, right? It's not that the next point in the path was the actual person they're trying to talk to. It created a route for them to follow, and they just aren't able to follow it if they're checking once per 600 frames, right? So we'll set this back to 5. 5 is a pretty good number right now. And that was working quite well when it was set to 5 before. So let's see. So we've got that. The next challenge, so we've got a few options of what to do next. We can either try to hook up the chattering and sort of activity function to the text box for when we're following a particular bot on their cam, or we can try to get the try to get the friend that they are moving towards to chat mutually with them, to do the chatter activity with them. One of the two. So one of those I should do next. Any preference from chat as to which thing I should take a stab at between those two? Ha 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 ha. It's Saber. It's Saber. Oh, and they can hear me. Excellent. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for the sub, Saber. Always happy to see it, and I'm glad that you can actually hear me now and chat. That's great. So, question is, do we want the drone to approach and then chatter with another drone next, or do we want that text box to populate when we're following the drones? I am leaning towards the text box populating, because I want to see those nicknames fly. That would be really cute and fun. So, if nobody has any particular preference, okay, Saber votes text box. It's pretty good evidence to me. I think I'm going to go ahead and start working towards that then. So, part of this is this script right here, the view manager. It's a new one that I made since my last stream, right? And this guy has timers, reference manager, the logic for switching the camera mode when we press the button, right? That's on our UI. And for reference, what I'm referring to that is when the game is running, we now have this little button in the corner that just says switch camera in the upper right. And if I click that, it will switch between the zoomed out view and following one drone in particular. And currently it chooses based on who's basically started an activity most recently. But it doesn't automatically switch between drones in this mode like I will want it to. For now, though, I am content to make sure that the text box at the bottom is populating based on who you're following. And so that's what we're going to do. So we've got this drone to watch thing here. That's probably going to be used in some capacity for this. Some of this is going to have to come from the brain and the activity for the drone itself, though, I think. Because I don't think we want to be asking it constantly, like during the update loop from this guy, as to what that string variable is supposed to be, right? Before we get too far, we're going to need to make some export variables and some connections here. So the reference manager, I feel like this guy should have a reference to that little text box, right? That makes sense. So we have activity label. It's just a label component, right? So we're going to go export. Oh, I already have a reference to activity label. Never mind. So we've got a reference to that. And each of the little drones, they know basically what they're doing at any given time. So they should probably be, I should probably have a method on the individual drone that can send messages to the view manager or whatever to make that happen. Because all that's going to be on the view manager, I suspect, in terms of like controlling what drone it's looking at a given time. So, I guess what we can do is we can store the string variable, right? So let's see, that was activity label, but it's not just going to be activities that are going to show up there. So we need to name that appropriately then. Maybe just, let's see, bottom screen text. And we know that's a string. All right, so we're starting it off as an empty string, and we can use that basically to check whether or not there's something that we need to display. And when we are grabbing a drone to watch, trying to remember if that's something it's setting or the HiveMind is setting. I know HiveMind is used there, right? Okay, so we have a call here. Reference manager, HiveMind, get drone to watch, right? So we have a call to set it inside set camera mode. So we know we have control over when we get whatever drone we're watching for now. At that time, we're getting the drone cam. Towards the bottom here, let's throw a comment. Get drone text. So we need a function that's going to grab this activity string from the drone for whatever it's currently doing. So the drones basically need to be prepared at all times to get asked, what are you doing right now, right? So they need that variable too, and this is going to grab it and display it. We also need to change it in real time if that drone is the one that's currently being watched too. Which means the drone needs to know if it's being watched or not, so that it can send that updated info, I think. I think that's going to be the way. That's going to be the way. Okay. So it's going to get a little messy here, but I think we can get there. So we have in drone body, let's make these the same. We're gonna make these variables the same between the two scripts. I think that's gonna make this a little easier, perhaps, or make it clear that the one on the drone body is more local, right? So current goings on. So the drone has current goings on. That's gonna be good. Oh, so Saber says, I love being a rubber duck. Awesome. That's basically the whole stream. Yeah, I'm just accumulating a little stack of rubber ducks. That would actually be kind of a cute add-on if I had, like, as part of my overlay, some like little like rubber ducks that are like floating around at the bottom, and they're like the subscribers or something, and they've got the little names. That would be pretty fun. I think that would be pretty cute. Okay, so we've got goings on. We need to find a way to set it, and of course, if we grab it, we're just going to do, in View Manager, we're going to do, let's see, so it'd be func get goings on. And inside get goings on, we do drone. This would be bottom screen text, I think. Equals current, or no, that would be drone to watch dot goings on. Oh, it's current goings on, I think. Actually, we could just call it goings on and just rename it in the other area, because I feel like it's implied that that's current goings on. This would be in body, yeah? Yeah, it's just goings on. It's not current. It's just goings on. Cool. Bottom screen text equals drone to watch dot goings on. And then from there, it would be reference manager. Yeah. And reference manager, what do you call that? Where is it? Okay. That is activity label. We're going to call it something else. No, it can say that for now. No, we're going to rename it. We're going to rename it to something else. I'm just going to call it bottom text. That's actually a little funnier. So we have bottom text. It's a label. Reference manager dot bottom text. equals bottom screen text. Oh no, it's bottom text dot, gotta figure out. Ooh, I'm assuming it's dot text, right? Property string, property text. Yep. Okay. Bottom text dot text equals bottom screen text. Cool. So we have our get going on. Slap that up in here. Get goings on. Cool. Oh wait, that was supposed to go down there. I should be consistent at the very least. So that will happen initially, but it won't update as the drone's behavior changes, right? So we probably... we're going to need to get a reference to the view manager through the reference manager. So the individual drone needs to know if it's the one being watched in order to send more updates. So reference manager, it has the view manager. Okay. So that's what I needed to know. So in drone body, we have a way to get the goings on. We're not setting it yet. And when we set it, that's also when we check to see if it's being watched. And if so, it should push its new message across. Or at least tell the view manager to get goings on again. So, this part's going to be tricky because we have activities to think about and we have idle behaviors to think about. And those all use slightly different sets of logic, I think. Now, what will help us, do we have a set main mode method? I don't think we do. We have set movement mode. I don't see a set main mode. I think we're just setting that dirty. Also, that wouldn't be set in the body. That would be set in the brain, wouldn't it be? Okay. Okay, that's happening in the brain. All right, we have end wait, start activity, set activity mod. We have start wait, start wander, start none, friend detected. Nothing about setting activities and stuff. So probably what we'll need to do is set the goings on inside these different start methods, right? Our start functions, our start activity, our start wait, our start wander. Those are going to populate goings on, I think. But because the body is going to need to communicate with those other scripts, probably the function that gets called should be on the body. So we're going to do func set goings on. New goings. And the new goings, that's going to be the new string, right? That's going to be the thing that's going to go to our view master, view manager, and show up as a little text box text, right? So we've got new goings. So we do goings on equals new goings. And we go reference manager. What do you call the view manager? View underscore manager. Sure. No, we have to check to see if it's being watched, right? So it'd be if... Oh no, we can actually ask the view manager. We can make that a function, right? Func get is being watched. Here we go. And this would be this drone. If drone equals drone to watch, return true. Oh wait, we don't need to do semicolons. Else, return false. Perfect. That way, if a drone needs to ask if it's being watched, it can get a yes or no answer. That will help us a lot. Cool. Back to the body. So, goings on is new goings on. We definitely want that to happen no matter what. Then we want to do if reference manager, view manager, let's see, is being watched self, because the body is the drone basically here. Is being watched. Okay, yep, that should be right. That should all check out. So if we're being watched, then reference manager, view manager, then we want the view manager to get goings on again, which will update the text box, right? And set goings on, that's only going to get called if the contents of that box would be changed, right? Perfect. We now have our little chain of functions calling other functions. It's a little hard to follow, I think, but I think this is closer than we otherwise would be. So we have start wander. Then we can do body set goings on, and now we just put whatever string we want, and this is gonna populate whenever they decide to start wandering. Now we also know nickname lives on the body, so we do nickname, or sorry, it'd be body.nickname. Is wandering around. Very cool. I'm going to copy this whole thing, so I'm going to reuse it in do we even want, what do we want to have for start wait? Okay. We'll just say is waiting. Right? They're waiting. Waiting patiently, maybe? Shit. My nemesis, spelling the word patient. Did I do it right? Yes. Okay, I spelled it right. I had to double check in another window. This was a problem last stream. My brain broke and I couldn't remember how to spell patient, and Lexercise had to step in and tell me how to do it. Oh no. Okay, so they're waiting patiently. It was so hard to do that. We've got start wander. We have start none. Now I don't remember if anything actually calls start none, but in case something does, we should have something displaying, right? Is starting nothing? Question mark. We shouldn't ever see this, but if we do, we'll know something called that. And if we do find a legitimate thing to call that, then we can go in and change it, right? Now I don't need these print statements anymore that people are done waiting. That usefulness is ended. Friend detected, that has to stay though. Friend detected it's a load bearing print statement right there. I just love to see it. So now we got to do something for start activity, right? So we have these. Main state, activity, idle state. Okay. All right. So we have start activity being called inside end wait. We don't have to do is ready to do something anymore. So we have set activity mod, start activity, activity mod dot pick activity. Okay, so what happens next is going to be inside of activity mod. We have pick activity, right? Shared activity state thinking, pick activity random. Okay. So let's find pick activity random. Here we go. Can't choose. We don't need that to be, actually that should probably stay as the debug message, because if that happens, we know someone doesn't have any activities, or no valid ones at least. And this isn't checking validity, so that's also fine. We have a print statement for wants to do. I think this is where we do our thing. So we're going to set goings on. Okay, we don't want to do that inside pick activity because we want that to be its own function. So we have set activity message. Let's add a function. Okay, at the end of the day, we're going to call something like this inside of there. So we do, oh shit. There we go. I screwed something up. Set activity message. Inside of here, we need basically some logic looking at the current activity, figuring out what version of the string to send there, and then to send it. And this is why I had this drone behavior script open. This is an old version of basically drone brain and drone activity combined. And it has the logic, a lot of the logic that we need for this. So we have participation type, we have some messages that would get sent to the thing. Good stuff. I'm going to double check shared for participation type, because that's something. Here we go. Solo binary group. For now, this is a variable that lives on activities to determine like whether or not they need to do that with another drone for the most part. But in this case, in the case of like setting this string, we're just using that to know if we need to include more than one nickname in the mix. If we need their nickname and the target's nickname, for example, that kind of thing. So we go into activity again, and I'm hoping we had picked a target by this point if we did need a target. Because we have set an activity, right? Oh gosh, I don't think we did pick a target there. Oh, okay, that's gonna be not good. That's gonna be not so good. Does that happen in perform activity? That happens inside of perform activity. Okay. So if it's solo, we have some logic here. If it's group, we have some logic here. Are we getting a target? We have pick target. Okay, cool. So we need to do that inside of perform activity rather than picking the activity itself, right? So set activity message, that's going to have to go. That's going to have to move to inside of the bottom of perform activity, I think is the safe place for it. Boom. Set activity message. Because by then we've picked an activity, we've picked a target. we've started timers and stuff, right? So set activity message, that's where that's going to go. That's where that's going to get called. Not here, not during pick activity random, right? Very cool. So we need the activity participation type. So now I guess we can just start making some if statements. It's if statement time. So if current activity is null, that's going to be a problem. Return. We don't want to update anything if current activity is null. Actually, what we could do though is we could set up we could do a print message. Print debug tried to send activity description. Current activity is null. That's not good. We don't want current activity to be null. We don't want to not know what to tell the view manager or whatever. We need to tell them what they're up to. It needs to be a chronicle of the goings on of these little guys, right? It's important. So body set goings on. We're checking participation type now. Now that we know it's not null, return, because it won't get past that if it is null. So current activity dot, okay, inactivity, what's the participation variable called? Participation. Okay, that's what we need to check. Dot participation shared dot participation type solo. We're just going to fill it out for all the different possible versions of that enum here. Participation equals shared. Participation type binary. If current activity participation shared participation type group. And then lastly, we can have an else, because we're going to change all of this internal stuff to elif. That way, you can tell we goofed here. So, participation type, not scripted with an activity method. There we go. So we've got these different types. I think we have display name. I think we can use the activity display name inside that text box to show what it is that we're doing. That's going to be, I think, the path here. So if it's solo, we're going to do and what we could even do here is go var output string equals and what we can do is set output inside these and do body set goings on output. That way we aren't typing body set goings on for all of these different options here. So we do output is, so we want to do body.nickname plus, if it's participation type solo, we're going to go with wants to plus current activity dot display name. I think that's right. So that's going to lead to, oh, and we should probably add more punctuation, right? So plus dot. So that's going to lead to something like Roombot wants to space out. That's going to be what is going to get displayed if it ends up being participation type solo. But it's going to use the display name of the activity, in this case, space out. So then with binary, we know that there's one target. It's already been set. So we can do output wants to display name with plus, I want to say current, does this guy have current target? It does. It does. Current dot nickname plus, and then some punctuation. That would be Roombot wants to chatter with Beppy or something. Oh, I misspelled current target. Now, I'm pretty sure current target is a drone, but before we do that, we should probably figure out if current target is null or not. Oh, Beppy. Oh, Beppy is legendary. So, let's see. Rather than check if current target is null inside all of these elifs that care about having a target, let's check right at the start and do a new variable that we're going to conditionally set. So we can do var other name string equals that, and then if current target is null, other name is someone, else other name equals current target nickname. And now, instead of doing current target nickname in here and risking an error, we can do other name. Very nice. Now, I think group should go just as well as binary, in part because, well, I don't have a way to grab more than one drone to do an activity with. I think the music stopped. Hey, let's hit it again. There, I've got it on repeat now. It's mostly for me, right? Helps me stay chill. So we've got binary, we've got group. Those are all good. We've got a failsafe. We're setting it. That all happens in set activity message, which we did put somewhere. So I think if we save all and we hit go and we switch camera views, we'll see it happen, right? We'll see if it throws errors. I may have missed a step in the chain. Well, what do you know? Non-existent function is being watched in base node view manager. Did I misspell it? Is it calling it too soon? Stuff might be missing a reference. I don't know how fast that's getting called because they're being told to wait right away. And so set goings on would get called. Maybe we need to make sure view manager isn't null. Or reference manager isn't null. Okay. We're going to make this a debug message. Can't set goings on without reference. manager. No, I don't need to save as. We just need to save. Come on. There we go. How many times am I going to misclick save? I'm sure there's a hotkey for it. I should just use the hotkey. Okay. Maybe there's something missing somewhere else. Maybe... reference manager dot view manager. One more try before try yet another thing. Come on. Yep, nope, it still does not like it. Is being watched. View manager. Oh, it's called get is being watched, not just is being watched. Okay, there's the problem. Get is being watched. Let's try this again. Okay, so far we're grooving. And since nobody is being watched, nothing is setting that message yet. But if I hit switch camera, we get an error. Okay. Valid assignment, key text with value string on base object type nil. Reference manager dot bottom text dot text. Did it break because I renamed it on reference manager? It did. Okay, here's your bottom text. We're gonna save the scene. We'll try again. This part's always fun. Just trying to get stuff to work, right? Okay, so far so good. So now, if I hit switch camera, Sneckers wants to space out. We're following Sneckers. Okay, Sneckers. Oh, Sneckers is waiting patiently. Yeah, here we go. Oh, Sneckers is wandering around. Oh, we're getting there. We're making progress. Someone else is wanting to chat with Sneckers, though. So that's an activity to tackle here. Sneckers is wandering around. Very cool. Sneckers is waiting patiently. Sneckers might decide to do another activity here soon. This is a very close look at Sneckers. Oh, it wants to chat with Scrumgus, and we got there. Okay. That feature is working pretty good. I'll call that a win. That's great. I love that. Sneckers is waiting patiently again. So good. Oh, yep. We've got a Scrumgus. We really do. We've got some friends. All right. So that's progress. I'm really happy with that. Okay. Next up, I'm thinking we gotta hop around. We gotta watch more of the little guys when we're in that camera mode. We want to be able to, after a timer expires, switch who we're looking at. And also, before I forget, on the spring arm here, on the individual drones, we're gonna disable the collisions so that the camera doesn't zoom in on them like that. It's funny, but I don't want that for now. I just want to follow them around and see what they're up to, right? That's the ultimate goal. Is we want little guys that are up to stuff. We want to follow them around. So let's look at View Manager. I've already got a timer associated with View Manager, and it happens to have no signal connected there just yet. But let's change that. We have on timeout. We're going to connect it to View Manager. Very good. And when this function gets called, we want to change what drone we're looking at. So when we have set camera mode going, we've got one of these share, or if new mode is shared camera mode highlight. That's the one that we want, right? We are going to want to set a timer inside this particular thing so that we can move on to the next little guy. But we're gonna need to get goings on again and sort of re-get all this other stuff that's inside of this function for whatever our next drone is. So honestly, a lot of these guts, they're gonna have to go in a new function. So what do we want to call the function where we are basically zooming in on a new drone, right? Because it's going to have a lot of these guts in them. I'm thinking, because the other thing too is that for get drone to watch, we probably eventually want to pick a new drone that we aren't already watching for that. But I'm not sure if that's true. Like one of the main sources of inspiration for this feature of this game, I'm pretty sure I've seen it basically decide to look at the same thing again, like right away. But I don't 100% know if that's how that works. So we can start it with the easier implementation for now and then go from there. So I guess another alternative way to do this is actually just do, if we get rid of this safety thing where it doesn't do anything if you're setting it to the mode that it already is, we can just repeatedly set it to highlight and it's going to highlight a new drone. But I think we should just call this guy start highlight, because that's what the new mode is called anyways, right? So we're going to go start highlight. Because the way I see it, if we're already in highlight mode and the timer goes off, we're starting a highlight on a new drone or a new point of interest, because eventually there will be other things we can look at other than just little guys, right? So we can actually just take all of these guts, smack them into start highlight. Oh yeah, and this is indented too far, of course. And then all of this can be replaced by start highlight, right? And when on timer view timeout goes, we do, I think we want to check to see if we're in highlight mode before we start highlight. So we want to check if current view is in highlight. Shared camera mode highlights. Then we do start highlights. That should work. And we don't have any logic yet for how long the timer should go for and when to start the timer, right? So up here, we're going to do an export variable, so it's nice and easy to change. And I want probably there to be some randomness to the highlight time. So we'll call this base one highlight time. And default variable, probably want to watch for at least 10 seconds. I misspelled export. Okay, and then we also want a variation time. Highlight flex float. Let's make that 3 seconds, right? And does the game manager have RNG? It should. If it doesn't, it should probably have the RNG instead of the drone brain, to be honest. They could probably share it. Kind of feel like having an RNG is going to be something you want to have on like a global script that's loaded all the time. Especially if you want to do some seed-based randomization. I don't think we're going to go that direction with this project, just because it's not really a run-based game. But maybe there could be a seed and have some randomization elements to like your site layout or your starting drones or something like that. I don't know. It's something we could think about later. We're not anywhere near a point where we need to be thinking about that too much. We just need access to an RNG, and I just don't want to put it on View Manager if it can share with somebody else, right? So we've got our RNG. We've got highlight time and flex time. We got start highlight. And the timer needs to be a one shot. It is set to a one shot. Perfect. So let's start our timer. Let's see if I can remember how this goes. So var time max equals, and this is highlight time plus highlight flex time min equals highlight time plus or minus highlight flex, and then we have to make sure time min is not less than 0. And I know I could probably clamp that, but this is, I don't want to have to look it up. Less than or equal to 0. Let's actually make it 0.1 just for simplicity's sake. Time min equals 0.1. I mean, that's not very much time to do a highlight. I think minimum time is going to be 1 for this guy. That's just going to be downright jarring if it's changing views 10 times a second. Actually, I'm going to put my foot down and say it really can't be less than 3 seconds, because that's going to be bad. Just a little jarring if it's changing 10 times a second. That would actually be kind of a funny thing to show, wouldn't it be? But I don't think I want to do that. We're not going to do that. So then we do, well, we've got to start the timer, right? Now, what did I even call that variable? It's view timer. View timer dot, I think it's wait time. Oh yeah, we have to actually roll it. Var, let's see, watch time equals, this is going to be on game. Oh, this guy doesn't have a reference to game manager? No, but it has the reference manager. That's good enough. Reference manager dot game manager dot RNG dot rand rand f. Let's look at one of the other ones that did it. I think the brain does it. I'm just gonna copy. Here we go. Rand f range. random range, time min, time max. Wait, time equals watch time view timer dot start. And does that start the timer? Starts the timer or resets the timer. Okay, cool, cool. And this will be good because as soon as it runs out, we're still in highlight mode. It'll start all that again, which will pick a new drone, roll the time again, start the timer again, right? It should allow us to just sort of cycle, right? So we're going to save all. I think it'll work now. Let's try it. Exciting. Okay, so I can hit switch camera. Marvin's waiting patiently. And when the timer runs out, it should move on to somebody else. Marvin wants to shatter with Roombot. Cool. That's pretty good. Any second now, though. Marvin's waiting patiently. Okay. Marvin's wandering around. Should have switched by now. Something is not working the way I anticipated. Oh, we switched to Snickers. Okay. So it does appear to have worked. There's actually a non-zero chance that and now we switched to Teddy. We may have switched from Marvin to Marvin, which would make it seem like it was lingering on one little guy for way too long. But so far, it's looking like we pretty much have the intended behavior. Yeah, we've got Snickers. Pog Snickers. That's true. Scrubbo Bingo is waiting patiently, wandering around. Scrumgus is spacing out behind the wall, right? I had to make the walls very high, or else they might jump the fence. But they shouldn't have to be so opaque, right? One of these days, I'm going to swap that out with like a little picket fence or something. And of course, you've got the large black obelisk, right? We've all seen it. We've all seen the obelisk. This is great. So we definitely have that pretty much working the way we want. The next step is we probably want the camera to rotate around a little bit. We want a bit of an orbit going on, a little bit of a pan or something. So we want to have that orbit gradually, because that's going to be nicer than just looking at him dead on. Oh man, that guy was popping a wheelie for a second. I saw them popping a wheelie. Yeah, that weird behavior where they're tilting backwards, right? Yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, so I think we do camera orbit next, because I think that's related basically to this feature as far as I'm concerned. Now, we know Spring Arm 3D. We're looking at the drone scene now. Spring Arm 3D it's basically where the camera is anchored to. And if this gets rotated, what kind of axis are we looking at? The y-axis. The y-axis gets rotated. Oh no, it's not related to this at all, is it? No, it is. Yeah. If the y-axis gets rotated on these guys, then that's going to be what allows the camera to pan. Well, but I don't know for sure if the camera's actually going to be pointing at the guy. It might be pointing off in a funky direction. So let's rotate it. Save. And now let's see how it plays. I want to see where the camera ends up. No, that appears to be fine. Yeah, because it's still looking at the guy. It's just from a different angle, right? So that tells me that we can rotate on the y-axis slowly over time. and that will be what we want. So, Now, the little guys already have the ability to ask if they're being watched. We could do it every frame and rotate it if they're being watched, right? Is that worth doing? Or do we want the spring arms to rotate a little bit all the time and not even ask? I don't know if that would be better or worse. I feel like asking would be better, right? Because then you have all of them basically checking a bool. They're doing a compare. Or they're all doing a transform, right? I don't actually know which is faster, which tells me they should probably just gently be rotating all the time. Is that crazy? I don't know if that's crazy. Now, one thing though that I gotta try to figure out is how to do that in a way that's going to be smooth. I feel like that needs to happen in process, right? I'm going to double check that there isn't like a particularly, let's see. Saber says, gently rotating them in my head. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, apparently there's ways to do it. Let's see, how to rotate smoothly in Godot. I'm actually just looking it up, you know? So we do have some kind of complicated stuff going on here. Lerp angle. Use radians as an input. This is kind of complicated to look at. I kind of would rather just try to tackle that particular problem off stream, just because it's going to require me looking up a bunch of stuff, which is going to be very boring, like really crushingly boring. Rather than do that, let's solve a problem I already know how to solve, like getting the friend to participate in the chatter behavior when they get to their destination, right? For now, though, I know that it's the y-axis we need to rotate it on. I guess we could try to do it in a very janky way and see how that works. So we're gonna do a variable. This is such a bad idea. Export var. Let's see. Cam orbit rate float, and let's go something slow, 2.5 degrees. Oh, but it's gonna be per frame. 0.1 degrees. I don't know what makes sense. No, we'll do 1 degree. We'll try to do 1 degree per frame and see if this makes any sense, right? So this would be drone body. It's a reference to spring arm, I think. Does it have a reference to spring arm? We have a reference to the camera, but not the spring arm. Ready var drone arm spring arm 3D equals that. Very cool. And then I guess we do drone arm dot transform dot rotation. Can we do dot rotation? Rotate Y. Oh, this is a bad idea. Rotate, let's see, rotates the locale transformation around the y-axis by angle in radians. Let's go with the variable that we set just now, cam orbit rate. Okay, this might be very bad. It might be very unpleasant. Let's find out. I'd rather have something than be like, I'll solve this later. Okay, that's a little too fast. This is a tiny bit too fast. Oh, gotta clip that. Marvin's having a lot of fun. Screaming bingo. We dude. Okay, it's gonna make me sick. Alright. Okay. So that's too fast. So I bet that could be okay if we set the orbit rate to be much, much, much smaller. So 0.01. Let's try that. Save. Let's hit it again. It's 1/100th the speed. Okay, that's like, this is closer to good. It needs to be a lot slower than that. That does not feel, this is still too fast. This is definitely too fast. 1/10 of that. Let's try that. Yeah, no longer vomit inducing. That's an improvement. Okay, that. The type of camera it is. I don't know if that works with this type of camera though. I think it might have to be an orthographic camera, because the distortion of the terrain around the edges, that's going to be, I think, a motion sickness problem, right? Also, I don't know if this angle's, I don't know, I think it may be too harsh an angle looking down on them, but that's something that we can always tweak later. Like something more, I guess when the fences are not as imposing, we can do a less harsh of an angle, right? Get more of a side view of what they're doing. But yeah, this is closer. This is definitely closer. I wonder if there's a camera setting here that we can look at. FOV, projection. Maybe we can try orthogonal, right? Is that going to feel a little better? I have a hunch it will. Switch camera. Oh, well, that's clearly too close. Yeah, this is not really the best view either, I don't think. I think we would have to adjust the spring arm distance if we're going to use orthogonal, right? It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to see anything else like this. Yeah, this is not ideal. Okay, so if we're going to go orthogonal, the spring arm, we need to be a lot further away. Let's double it for now. Let's see how doubling it treats us with orthogonal. No improvement. Is this a zoom issue? Size near. Does spring arm just not work with orthogonal cameras? I just don't know how orthogonal works differently. So we're just going to switch back to perspective, I think, maybe. Well, we have FOV versus size. Oh, size is what we want. Size is what we want to change. Let's change that to 10. Is that going to get us somewhere? I feel like we're a lot closer to where we want to be now that we're in. I don't know if this feels better or worse than perspective. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like we're gonna have to maybe A/B test this a couple of times to see if this is better or if perspective is better or what. I'll tell you what, they sure are hiding pretty well from the orthographic camera, though. They just do love hiding behind stuff like that. The fact that they're all spinning at the same rate is maybe not great either. Yeah, stealth check successful, says Saber. That's absolutely correct. They were pretty well hidden. There's a little conference going on in that corner there. I don't know if I like the fact that they're all in sync because they're all spinning it around the same time, right? So it may be that we need to potentially randomize the rotation whenever we change views. For now, though, this is not a huge problem, I don't think. That's cute. That's fun. I'm digging it so far. I'm excited about that. So we've made some progress there. Got our little bit of a rotation. Chatter behavior is next. I'm trying to fix chatter behavior. But while I have the drone opened up, right? Got drone body. Got drone body there. Okay, I no longer really know. What the issue with the navigation agent was now that I'm looking at this. Because the body position is very low. And that's the thing that they would be navving to, right? So it doesn't explain why they would be rotating and bucking while they are moving towards their target. I'll try to dig into that later. The bucking bug, I think, the problem isn't what I thought it was. So it's going to be more complicated than that to fix, right? Chatter behavior. So we need to change our scripts so that when we get our friend detected, when a one of the drones approaches another drone, gets to them, and starts chattering, that the other drone starts chattering too. So what we need to do is find a way to pull them out of whatever state they were in before, set their activity state, set their activity to chatter, and have them start the chatter immediately with no wandering, no pathing, but they probably need to turn to face us when we start chatting with them, because otherwise that'll be a little bit weird, right? And their activity timer is going to have to get set too. Thankfully, almost all of that logic is going to live in the activity mod script, right? Because we have pick activity, which would get skipped for the person we're talking to, perform activity, and I think perform is not quite what we want here, probably, because we're setting movement mode to approach during perform. Friend handler tells us start arrival is what we do. Start arrival sets our activity state, stops the timer, calls start acting. Oh, start acting. That's what we're going to tap into. When we bump into a friend, we need to tell our friend to start acting. And we need to tell them that their activity state is chatter. Now, a potential problem is we're setting our emote sprite to current activity during start acting, which means we need to tell them what their activity is before they start acting. That makes me think that there needs to be a function that takes an activity as an argument, sets their current activity to that, and then does start acting. I feel like that's what we got to do here. So we're going to do that after start acting because it's going to include it. Yeah, because it's going to include it, right? So we do func. So what do we call this function? This is a function that's going to get called by a friend who bumps into us with the intention of doing an activity with us. And this is going to change our activity. The other thing too is that it's a function that we could call ourselves if we, as a particular drone, notice that someone else is doing something nearby that we're allowed to join in on. We probably want to use the same logic for that, because I see them as basically identical in that I'm going to start doing an activity that I didn't pick, right? I didn't just decide to do it. Yeah, it's fun time. Where so your suggestion is to call this fun time. I would call it fun time, but I don't think fun time is very descriptive. Here's why. Not all of the activities are going to be fun. Some of them are going to be maybe a little bit mischievous or bratty or something like that. And so some of them might actually be unfun. So I don't think fun times could be a good name for this function. I definitely think, though, that we have to think about basically what it's doing. It's setting an activity and starting the activity immediately, right? So I would say, I would call this guy something like, I feel like it would be start acting by activity, right? Because by putting by activity at the end, that tells us that it's expecting activity as an argument, right? We're giving an activity and then it's doing something about it. So the other thing too is there might be states that the drone is in where it can't do what it's being asked to do. So that means it probably should have the word try in it. So I'm just going to call this guy try start activity by activity. Or we could actually just cut it down to try start by activity, which sounds like nonsense. But to me, that makes sense. So I guess that's fine. So we're going to go this activity. So it's expecting an activity. And we want that to be an activity variable specifically, right? So they're being handed an activity. We might want to see if we can actually do it. But for now, we don't have to worry about that because, oh yeah, Saber says, lol, as long as they make sense to you, that's, yeah, unfortunately they do have to make sense to me because it's as much as there's a performance element here, and I want input from chat about like what to call stuff. At the end of the day, I'm going to be the one reading this in like 4 days. And it's like, what does that function do? I'm looking for a function that does some things. Like I wouldn't expect to find it in a function called fun time, right? Unless it was like a timer of some kind. Like then I could see it maybe being called fun time. But then I would expect like a timer component called fun or fun timer or whatever. Yeah, that scans. Yeah, okay. So we might want to see if it's an activity we can do in the future. So maybe this would be test activity. But we don't have to do that now because all of the drones can do all of the activities. And they're never currently in a state where they cannot do activities. Not yet. In the future, there may be cases where they're low on battery or they're damaged or they're busy and they can't actually just do whatever someone else wants to do, right? I mean, there are definitely times where I can't just do what someone else wants to do too. That's just part of being like a human person, I think. So we've got this try-start activity. We're going to do current activity equals this activity. Then we do start acting. The next thing that we have to figure out is if start acting really does all of the stuff we need it to do to start the activity as far as this drone is concerned, right? So the activity state changes, that's good. We don't want it to be none, for example. The bubble changes, the emote matches the current activity, we want that. We want the timers to go. It sets the timer, it starts it. It sets the movement mode to none. Well, for now that's fine because start acting currently only gets triggered because someone reached their destination to do chatter. But that might have to be more nuanced later. We set our wait time, we start the timer. My main concern here, though, is they might be in an idle state. Because we're setting their movement mode, we're setting the activity state. There is another state that we forgot to ask, and it was the idle state. So, I guess what we do then, if someone is chatting, we can probably also reset their wait timer. Because if they were waiting to do an activity and they have an opportunity to chatter, I feel like that counts as doing an activity. So now I want to look at drone body, or brain rather, because that manages the idle states and the main state. Oh snap, I didn't even think about the main state, right? Do I have a setter for main state in here? Is it something I figured out? No. It was movement mode that I was using something funky to set. Yeah, I was using that. So I think I can go ahead and just shove a new main state in here, can't I? So we'd be changing the main state, and we'd be changing the idle state. Now, end wait, if I call that, that runs the risk that they're going to pick an activity. We don't want them to do that. They're going to be doing an activity anyways. So, I guess this is when start none comes in, right? We want to clear their idle state. So rather than have this be start none, which again isn't very descriptive, we can do start idle none. We know what we're wanting it to do. We do idle states is idle state. Or, oh wait, it needs to be shared idle state none. Right? I can't really think of anything else that we need to do when we're setting the idle state to something other than one of those other things. Because when the timer runs out, if it was none, nothing's going to happen. And that's what we want. We want the idle timer. But we want to stop the idle timer, don't we? If we get start idle none, there's a possibility that the idle timer runs out during the activity, and then we get a super short wait time, right? So we want to stop the idle timer. I think I remember how to do that. It's idle timer.stop. It stops the timer. So we stop the timer. I'll say it's none. That's good. And that's in drone brain. And this should have a reference to brain, right? So we do brain dot start our idle none. Let me just make sure I did that right. Start idle none. Yep. Okay, so we have start idle none. That handles our idle state. Now we need to handle our main state. That's also in the brain, I think. Let's see all the references to main state in here, right? Start activity sets main state to activity. Oh, wait. The start activity function, it sets main state and idle state. So I don't need to call start idle none. Or maybe I do call start idle none instead of setting the idle state in start activity. Then instead of calling start idle none, I call brain.startActivity. And it will change the idle state and the activity state and stop the timer. That's what we want. That's what we want to do. Okay. I think this gets us most of the way there. We're going to save all. Oh, yeah, but we don't currently have anything doing try start by activity yet. No one is calling this. So I think this may be where friend handler comes in. So if friend is current target, right? And activity state is activity state.transit. We have start arrival. We do activity timer start. We do start acting. And I think we can also go ahead and do try start by activity, but we call try start by activity on our friend, on our current target, right? So if current target is not null, current target. We want their activity mod. I don't think body has a reference to activity mod, but as a reference to the brain has a reference to activity mod. Okay, this is going to get messy. Current target dot brain dot activity mod dot, okay, try start by activity equals current activity. Oh boy. Oh wait, try start by activity is a method. It's expecting an activity as the argument. There we go. Now, we're not really checking here if the participation type is correct for this. And we probably should, because I can imagine a scenario in which there's some other combination of enums on activity after I've done some reworking on it that cause us to path to another drone, but they're not supposed to participate. Ooh, yeah. Okay. So we need to be checking the activity. And then furthermore, we might need to be checking them. Now, we could cover this inside of try start by activity. That's where this test activity comment is for, right? It's basically like, hey, can I actually do the activity I'm being asked to do? But I don't feel like this is the correct step to ask if the activity is even appropriate to do with someone else in general, right? So we should scrutinize the activity right here, I think. I don't think it could wait. I think it has to. I think we got to do it right there. So we have participation type. That's going to be our boy. That's going to be our main thing. So if current activity null, current activity dot participation. I think it was just the participation variable, right? Yep. If it's shared dot participation type solo. We don't want to go any further if it's a solo activity. We don't want to go any further if other people can't do it, right? LF current participation shared participation type binary, or it's gonna be so long if I check those. The fact that we're screening out solo, I think, is fine. We also don't want to go any further if somehow current activity is null. So else return, right? So those are just exclusionary factors. Those are things that make us not want to do try start activity with our friend, with the person we bump into. Now that we have those set, I think it's time to test. It could work. I don't know for sure. We're going to find out. Okay, so we got our guys. We're going to start doing stuff. As soon as we get a friend detected, and we got an error. Okay. Invalid call, non-existent function, start activity, and base nil. Brain dot start activity. Does this not have brain equals null? Drone sheet equals null. What's setting brain? I imagine something's setting drone sheet though, right? Well, we can change this to an on ready. Normally, I wouldn't do these references in this way. But this is going to be the fastest way to solve this problem. Is just grab it. Okay. So we definitely have a reference to the brain. Let's try that again. All right, we got non-existent call, non-existent function, set movement mode, and base nil. You don't have a reference to the body either, do you? Nope. I guess it was counting on those being set by something else, and then I guess I'm just not doing it, right? Well, body is that. Oh, wait, what? Interesting. I don't know why that's not working. Unexpected identifier body in class body. Oh, I didn't have var. Duh. Okay. Save. Time to try again. Kind of just wait for them to snap out of their wait times here. And we've got maybe a chatter. We've got at least one chatterer. Okay. So they're both chattering. We've got double chatter going on. Now they're waiting. Do they both want the spacing out? They're chattering now. Okay. I'm trying to make sure that they're gonna basically start acting normally. Wandering. Cool. Wandering. Wandering. Okay, so we're closer on chatter now. We still need to get them to look at us. But we're getting there. That's a step closer to what we want. Okay. Now, probably be worth thinking about. How do we indicate that when we're doing an activity with another little guy, where we're supposed to look? Because here's the scenario I'm thinking about, right? If you just have two chattering, that's easy, right? When I approach you wanting to chatter, and we're both drones. If I approach you and I want to chatter, and I make you chatter, I could pass a reference to you, to myself, so that you can turn to look at me. Cool, easy. But if someone nearby wants to join in, where are they supposed to look? Do they look at the original chatterer? What if they're done and they left? That's going to be weird, right? And how would they even get that reference? So we now have a fun problem. How do we keep track of who is in a group activity? We don't currently have a way to do that. Not in any way that immediately clicks with me, right? My gut instinct is, in a group activity, there's an array somewhere of all of the current participants in that group activity. And there would have to be functions for adding and removing people to that array. And joining should cause you to look in a particular direction, probably based on a piece of data from the activity itself, right? Because there could be funky rules for where you're supposed to turn on an activity by activity basis, I imagine. Like, do you turn at all? Do you turn to the center of the group? So that's the thing I would be thinking of, right? Do you turn to the center? Do you look at the center of the group? Do you basically get a position from the array that's like an average of all of the positions of the participants, and you look in that direction? That's what makes sense to me, right? So let's kick this off by coming up with an enumerator for looking instructions for, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be for activities, but activities would definitely have a look instruction. So enum look instruct. And on look instruct, I would say the default behavior should probably be to not turn at all on joining, right? So I would call that no turn. The other one would be look center. That makes sense. And that's enough variation for now. We're going to save shared. Now we go into activity. And we're going to add beneath movement pattern, maybe. We're going to add another export variable. This is going to be look instruct. Shared dot look instruct equals shared look instruct no turn is going to be the default, and all the activities will need that variable set. And we know that space out is going to be a no look, but we know that chatter, we probably want that to be a look center behavior, right? So that's going to be, we're going to double check space out in the inspector here. That says no turn. That's what we want. Good. Chatter in the inspector, we need to change that to look center, because that's going to be reference to see where they're supposed to face when they're chattering, right? And let's save the scene. we've got that figured out. Now for the fun part. Where are these activity arrays gonna go for these group activities? What is hanging on to this? It's got to be... I mean, while it could be stored on the person who started the activity, right? Then you're passing references around between a bunch of individuals. I feel like that's a recipe for disaster, because if I pull that drone out of the scene for whatever reason, and their friends are looking for them and be like, hey, aren't we doing something right now? Like, I don't even know how they would maintain that type of communication with a specific individual like that without having some funky reference stuff going on, right? So it's got to be something in the main scene, something global-ish, that hangs on to all of the group activities. I feel like Hive Mind is a good candidate for this. Small problem, though. We're going to start putting arrays into arrays now to make that work, because it's going to be an array of all the group activities, all the current group activities, right? And each of those group activities is going to be an array of participants, right? So what? The participant is going to know what index in the array their activity array is. I don't think that's going to work. They can't all have separate copies of the array, because if one leaves, then the one in the hive mind isn't necessarily going to line up with the one that everyone else has, unless it's like a shallow copy or something. And I don't remember how to consistently do that in Godot. Well, before I go any further, we're at the normal stopping point of the stream. I'm very tempted to continue. So let's see if I can get a verdict from Maple and Sage if I can continue. Let's see. While I wait for an answer there, I'm going to continue to think through this problem out loud. So we've got... Man, I think this is time... It's time for, like, some custom information, maybe. Like, this is when in Unity I would use a serializable script. Because we can create them when we need them. It would have a variable that was an array. It wouldn't just be arrays and arrays, right? But man, I just think there's like a very real concern that if I do the array, just regular arrays and arrays here, I mean, I feel like this is this when dictionaries would be handy? To sort of give people, it would be one array of drones participating in group activities, and maybe it would assign them to channels, like assign a variable to them that says, oh, I'm on channel 1. Oh, hang on. I might be able to make the... could I do that on an individual basis with just channels then? No, I don't think that's going to work. Man, this is making my head heat up. It's difficult. Yes, I have consulted the council and I haven't heard back. I suspect that Maple and Sage are asleep, which would basically be the same as permission to continue streaming to a certain point, right? I'm going to try to keep it reasonable here. So if I do an array of arrays, right? I create a new array whenever I start a new group activity. That just seems like danger to me, right? But to try to figure out whatever the equivalent of a serializable script is, I would need to do a lot of looking up. I wonder if I can find a quick answer to this. This will just take me a second. Let's see, using resources, custom resource classes. I don't necessarily want to be generating resources during runtime for something like this. I don't think that's a good idea. Jeez. I kind of feel like well, if push really comes to shove, push really comes to shove, I could create a scene with a script attached that is meant to track a group activity, instantiate it, like load a copy of it, and it has an array of participants, and take it out back and shoot it as soon as all the participants on it are done, and do it in a very disgustingly object-oriented sort of way. I think I know how to do that now, and I don't think it's gonna hurt us. I think that would be okay, and I could find the better solution later, but for now that's gonna work, I think. So where is that going to go? So it's going to be a node that's going to get loaded and then removed. So that's probably going to be a child of HiveMind, right? So let's start working on that node. What do we call this child of a node who lives and dies only when there are people doing group activities? I mean, we could just call it group activity, right? And we can give it a script called group activity. We don't want it in scenes, though. We want it in scripts. And then we'll put it in activities, I guess. And we want to turn this into a scene. Save branch as scene. Put it in scenes. Okay. So we've got the group activity scene. Cool. And we've got the group activity script. It needs an array to keep track of the people that are participants. So we would call this, and we don't want it to be an export variable. It just needs to be a variable. Now it is going to be a bunch of drones. So it's going to be character body 3D. Or, oh, it's an array. Well, hang on. Let's look at other arrays of stuff. Okay. I have gotten a verdict from Maple and Sage, from the council. I need to step away briefly for a quick break. I'll be right back, and I'll be able to continue for a little longer. So let's just transition away to my break screen here. And in the meantime, I guess I might as well just let this run, huh? We're going to comment this out. We'll hit save. And I'll just let this go for y'all so you can watch the little guys. And I'll be right back. Okay. I am back, and I've got about another hour. So y'all get me for another whole hour. All right. Saber, thank you so much for joining us when you were. Get some good rest. I'm gonna keep doing what I was doing. So we were about to make group activities work, or try. So we've got participants. It needs to be an array. We need to look at Game Manager at how I did it. Okay. We can just sort of copy that, right? It's the same kind of array. It's an array of character bodies. Arrow will stick around a bit longer. Awesome, thank you. Stick around as long as you feel like. We're here to have fun and get some work done, and so your presence is cool, and I appreciate that. But man, if you get tired too, definitely dip out. You gotta do you, right? All right, we've got participants looking good. So something is going to be loading and instantiating this guy, loading up at the participants, and then it's going to need it probably ought to have functions for taking the initial participants, right? And actually, I think the drone is going to need a reference to the group activity in order to turn to look in the proper direction, right? So I'm imagining a function that takes two drones as sort of the initial setup, right? And tells those drones that, hey, I'm the group activity, is what it would say, basically. So they have a reference to it. Then there'd be another function for when a drone joins in, where a drone decides to participate. And we don't have that functionality yet, but this would be sort of a piece of getting to that functionality, as well as solving the problem of when drone walks up to another drone to chatter, they need to turn to look at you, right? Or in this case, look at the center of the group activity. So we have the initial setup function, and we have a join function. We also need to have a leave function, and that leave function should cause the group activity to self-destruct when the array becomes totally empty, because it shouldn't outlive its usefulness, right? So func, the initial setup is going to be between two characters, generally speaking. So this is going to be specifically for that case, right? So we probably want to specify that we're starting a group of two. So we'll do start group of two. It's going to take as an argument two drones. So one is the initiator, one is the receiver. So let's go, maybe call them actor and target, because the actor is generally already facing in the correct direction. Not that I think it's going to matter too much. Now, body is going to need a reference to the group activity, or something does. Is it body? for now, let's go with body, because body has a lot of references to external things. So I'm going to go var group activity equals null, because we can set it as null, check for null, right? So on start group of 2, that should only ever be called when the array is empty. So we can actually go ahead and add them to the array. So it'd be dot append actor. So append, I think, adds it to the end of the array. Yeah. So we append actor, append target. Now that they're both on the array, there's a function we should call, and that should probably be its own function, that finds the center of all of the participants so that they can look in that direction, right? So let's see. That's a different function. Get group center, I guess. So we want to return null if participants is empty. I don't know how that would happen, but we want to do that. Participants.size, if it's 0, return null. We don't want to, and all the stuff that's going to do get group center, we can do a safety clause if it's null, right? Then we do trying to figure out how do we find an average of a bunch of positions, right? I imagine we add them all together and just divide, yeah? I don't know if that makes sense. We want to do the average of a bunch of vectors, because we're doing position. We're doing a bunch of vector 3s, yeah? I'm guessing I think we just add them all up and divide. Summing all vectors and dividing by the number of vectors. Oh, okay. That's what I thought. I don't even know why I felt the need to look that up. I just had to make extra sure. So we do... So we're just going to add them all up and divide by participants.size. And so we can do a for loop to get the vector sum. Var output equals vector 3 0 0 0. No, that's not right. Oh, vector 3 is not a function. Oh, okay. Yeah. There we go. I just didn't capitalize the V like I should have. So we start with basically a zeroed out vector. Then we do for I in participants.size. We do output plus equals participants I dot transform, or actually we do global position, right? We do global position. After all that, we do output equals output divided by participants dot size return output. Cool. So that's group center. That was actually pretty painless. Could backfire. We'll find out. So we've got get group center. That's good. We have that figured out. We've appended participants. Then we do actor dot, because they have a spot for this group activity, right? Group activity equals self. Target dot group activity equals self. So we've got those. They've got references to each other. How do we know where to face? When do we turn? That I'm not 100% sure on. I guess we could turn right now. I guess. We probably need a method on drone body to receive the center here. Because this is probably going to have something to do with current direction, the current direction variable, right? I don't know where I'm turning visuals in here. Here we go. Visuals look at global position plus forward direction. Oh, that could be where part of the problem is. I think that visuals.lookAt maybe what's causing them to be bumping. Because I don't think it happens when they wander. Oh no, it does. But forward direction equals -1 times new direction. And then we do I wonder if at some point I was like, this forward direction equals -1 times new direction thing. I wonder if that was part of the problem of the weird rotating they're doing. I don't know. That's a problem for later. For now, I know that the look at here, we have new direction going around. Forward direction equals new direction. Oh yeah, because we took the naving out of this function, right? And that's setting new direction. Gotcha. So we have new direction being set there. look at being set there. Basically, if we're stopped, movement type none, we're not looking anywhere, which will be a problem. We need to look at. I'm gonna throw a visuals look at into there. Because otherwise we're going to run into problems where they're stopped. They're not going to look at their new direction. New direction is the thing that I think we want to be setting when we register them to the group activity, right? Because that's going to cause them to actually look. So now that we've got that, now what? We have the ability to get the group center. We really need to tell them to turn here. So yeah, we need a function for that. We'll do it under process here. Func. I'm guessing we just call this set outside direction or something, or maybe set group. Oh man, we're trying to set the new direction variable. So maybe we just call it set new direction, right? New direction. I don't see why I need to mince words about this. It's going to expect a vector 3, so we're going to go this direction vector 3. Cool. And it's just going to be new direction equals this direction. Cool. Then in group activity, we do var push, or var center focus equals get group center. Then if center focus isn't null, because null is a possibility. If it's not null, actor dot set new direction center focus. Then we do target. No. Target dot set new direction center focus. Okay. Not target. Target is not what I declared. It was target. Because it's at the target. Target. Okay. Making progress. Now we just need to instantiate and set this thing up whenever they touch. Well, and then we need to add removal to, okay, I guess that's a big deal. So next we need to do joining, and we do leaving. Join group incoming. So we want to basically check if they're already on the array. So if participants, I wonder if there's has for array. I'm going to look at array in Godot. Checking the documentation. I'm not going to make y'all look at it because it's not in dark mode. I still need to do that. Okay, clear account, duplicate, erase, fill, find, get, has. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So if participants has incoming, we want to do nothing, right? But we do want to do something if they don't have it. So we reverse it. So if it doesn't have incoming, then we append it. So we append incoming, then incoming dot group activity equals self, not self. Self isn't anything. There. It'd be like you. I'm your group activity. That's what that says. Then we do. Then we get center focus. We make sure it's not null. And then we do incoming, set new direction to center focus. Very cool. I think that actually handles joining the group. That wasn't so bad. Now we need to find leaving the group. This is going to be a little tougher. So this is going to be outgoing. So if it has outgoing, then we got to remove it. And I want to say that may be clear. Clear removes all elements. That's not going to be good. Erase. There we go. Now, erase gets rid of the first instance of the variable. That shouldn't be a problem, though, because they are each a unique and special creature, and that shouldn't be an issue. So we do participants erase outgoing. Then we do outgoing group activity equals null. Basically unregister this from the group activity, right? And then lastly, after it's erased that element, if participants count, or not count, size, if it's 0 now, we got to destroy this. So I don't know how to destroy a scene. Kill an instance of a scene. Let's take a look. Queue free. Yeah. Self.queueFree. I think that's what we need. Yep. Very cool. So, we've got all that. Now we got to figure out how we're getting a group activity, right? Nothing is loading or instantiating this right now. So HiveMind needs a reference to the actual scene file. So it's going to be export. This is going to be group activity scene. Can I just declare this as a node? I don't know yet. Let's find out. Okay, group activity. That should be in the scenes folder. Yep. I don't think that works. It does not. Okay, we need to declare this as a scene, maybe? Is it a scene tree? I have to have a type. Okay, I gotta look this up. Export variable scene. Path to a scene. How do we export a path to a scene? Packed scene. Okay. Packed scene, there we go. So now I should be able to plop that right there. Wait, what? There we go. So we've got reference to group activity and packed scene. That's good. We like that. We can get rid of the one that's just vibing. So I need to load and instantiate it. Gotta look that up now too. Okay, I need to preload it as a resource. Then I instantiate it using instance method and add it to the scene as a child. Okay. So I can preload it by path. Ugh, I don't like that, but we're gonna do it. Oh, I didn't do that right. Already var group activity scene preload, and then I just need to find the path. There we go. And then I would instantiate it. Variable instance equals that dot instance. Use add child scene instance. Okay. So I can use self for that, I think, to get them all to be a child of HiveMind, which is what I want to do. So they're all going to need to talk to HiveMind to create these. So func create group activity, and we need to really get both parties here from two, sort of like what's in group activity, right? Start group of two, right? Create group. We're gonna do create group of two. Actor targets. So first thing we do is group activity scene.instance. Oh, not instantiate, instance. I think. I'm gonna double check that that's gonna be fine. Well, first let's maybe there's going to be a tooltip for instance. I think it's instantiate now. Instantiate. No description available. There doesn't appear to be a description for instance either. Create a node from a code uses new. That's not right. We have load and preload. It's the hey, the documentation says instantiate. So we're gonna go with instantiate. I trust Godot's own documentation over a Google search result. But we actually need to store this as a variable, right? So we're gonna do group equals group activity scene instantiate. Then we need to child it. Self add child group. I don't like calling this group. We'll call it group activity. Okay, so we've got that. We've instantiated it. We made it a child of the hive mind. Now we set it up, right? So we do group activity dot start group of 2. Actor target. Very cool. We've passed the buck. It can now create and destroy. We're close. So now we need something that's going to call create group of 2, probably one of the drones. And we'll need something that calls to the group to remove themselves via leave group, right? And we might have to do something funky with those groups. We might have to create a queue of some kind, because I'm imagining a scenario where someone is trying to leave at a similar time as someone is trying to be added, and so it might self-destruct before it's empty. It could cause problems, right? But that's why we're going to try it. Anyways, we have create group of 2. And inside of that, basically we just need to get that started and get the thing that causes them to leave going. And then we're good. Leave group, that's the thing, right? And I feel like brain is the way to go. Brain has start activity. Brain has all the other good stuff, right? It has friend detected. Activity mod, friend handler. Activity mod may need to get the brain to do it. Or maybe it needs to do it. This is all roughly activity related, right? So this could be it. And we've got start arrival. We're checking to see if it's a certain participation type. I think we can do current target, try start by activity, and immediately after that, that's where we go. We do it right here. Okay, Arrow's heading to bed. Thank you for tuning in, Arrow. I really appreciate it. It's been good having you. And you take care. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was pretty much it's just me working out loud. So if that is all it takes for a great stream, I think this is going to be good. I think I'll be able to keep it up. So thanks for tuning in. Take care. Go to bed. Get some good sleep. And maybe I'll see you next week. My next stream is going to be Monday. So similar time. Not as late as now, but Monday. Definitely Monday. Bye-bye. Okay. So we found where we want to do the create call here. Try to make it to the next one. Awesome. I really appreciate that. Good night. So we're in the activity mod. We do brain.body. Oh wait, do we need to do it from the body? Well, we need a reference to the hive mind, right? The brain has that. Brain.hivemind. From there, we're doing create group of 2. Create group of 2, and it's going to be brain.body, because that's self, and current target, because that's the other, right? Save. Now, before I go much further, I'm going to throw something into group activity that tells us that it was created correctly. So we're going to do print group activity set up. And I might as well do for leave group print group activity empty, time to go. And we'll save the scene. And we'll hit pray, or hit play. I'm praying, but that's not what I initiated. Okay, we've got some chattering. I don't think they turned correctly, though. Not quite. There's more chattering there. So, are we seeing... I don't think we're seeing group activity set up, are we? Oh, group activity set up, group activity set up. Okay. So, we definitely did set new direction, but I don't think they turned. That's going to be something in here. Forward direction is -1 new direction. And then we look at forward global position plus forward direction. You know, I'm not quite sure how we're getting some of this stuff then. Okay, we're getting it. Okay, so we got a chatter. It just seems like they're all facing a particular direction. I could just sort of be a fly on the wall for a little bit and see if I can witness more chattering going on, right? That seems like a pretty good way to do this. Wants to chatter. Cool. I feel like they almost had it there. There's another wants to chatter. Gave up. I might want to, like, really increase the patience value. That might make this a little easier. Bot wants to chat. Okay. Weird. It's like they both faced the same exact direction. They didn't look at a central position. What is going on with that? They're all facing the same direction. Okay. I think there's something I'm missing with the facing thing and the turning thing. I think we're looking for a relative position for them to look at rather than what they're doing right now. Because like they both turn to face towards the same arbitrary point rather than towards the center of where they're collectively standing, right? I don't know. Something's just weird about it. We could look at this again. I am participants.size. Participant global position. Divide it. That's the output. So that gives us global positions, right? So okay. So direction versus position to look at are two very different things. And so by setting a direction as center focus, that's not quite right. We need to be setting a look point rather than a direction. Because there's some relativity that has to occur. That's the problem, I think. That's part of the problem, I think. So that's going to be on body. We've got, because we have forward direction is blah times new direction, whatever. New direction is done randomly. Then we look at global position plus forward direction, right? So it tells me that forward direction has got to be something that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Set to be a length of 1. It's normalized. Bingo. It's normalized. So where am I? Where's the set current nav frame? New direction is nav.getNext position minus global position, right? So it's going to be new direction is going to be look position minus global position. So instead of set new direction, we're going to call this set look direction. And we need to change it over here too. Set look. right? Because the name of the function changed. And then in drone body, it's not new direction equals this direction. It's new direction is global position minus this direction, I think. Sort of like set nav. Where did I put set nav? Update nav, here we go. It's path position minus global position, right? So it's going to be new direction equals this direction minus global position, right? I think if I save all, I think that fixes it, probably. Moment of truth. I'm running out of chances because my time is running a little low. Let's see what we got. Okay. So we do have some chatters, but they're all facing away from each other. So that tells me something about that whole direction -1 thing. Yeah. They have to be reversed. So new direction is that times -1, I guess. Or -1 times that. Let's try it. Okay, we got them looking at each other. Now we still don't have a way to destroy those conversations though when they're empty. So that's the next thing that we need to try to implement. And I've got a little bit of time. I think we can put it in and test it, right? So this is when an activity ends. So it'll be an activity mod. We have our timer start. So this is probably part of our timer timeout. We have stop activity. So in stop activity, oh boy. So here's an issue. One of these drones is already part of a group activity. Someone comes up and initiates a new group activity with them. We basically need to make them leave their previous activity to join the new one. So there's one hitch. The other hitch is we have to make them leave their current group activity when they do stop activity. So if brain, main state, share state is activity, cool. Blah, blah, blah. We do brain start wait. We also need to do brain dot body dot group. Well, we need to check if it's null. Brain body group. It's not null. Dot group. Active. Come on. Activity. And what's that method called? Leave group? Dot leave group brain dot body. It's a little janky. It'd probably be better to have a method on body to do that rather than so awkwardly call it from activity mod like this. I'm okay with this though for now. So we have that. And then the other one is if they're basically forced to join a new one while they are already in one, right? I guess that's something we could do from group activity, right? So here's what we do. Because it's not something that the actor is going to call. That's going to be a problem with the target. And we want to do that before we set the target's group activity. So if target.group activity isn't null, target.group activity dot leave group target. Tell them to leave their group before setting this as the group activity. Save all. I think that actually gets us there. Now, let's see. Wants to. Is it the activity mod that's sending all those print messages? Wants to do. I'm just going to get rid of those. Oh, that was easy. We can also get rid of drone is falling, I think, because that was just to make sure that the falling logic was triggering at all, right? So now we can do file, save all, and we hit play again. Let's try again. I want to see the debug messages this time though. I want to see that we're creating group activities and that group activities are being pulled apart. We have one set up, we have another one set up, we have another one set up. Great. Some activities are empty. I think it worked for now. And we haven't done the drones nearby joining in yet. We haven't done that yet. But we did get the making one friend in particular join and turning to face the center of the group. We got that. That's progress. That's interesting. So they were chattering. They immediately stopped. One wandered away, the other pursued, but it didn't trigger a new chatter. That's hilarious. That is funny. I want to know how that happens. I don't know. I don't know how it happens. Because it doesn't always happen. That's just so weird. They don't always buck around like that. Just sometimes. Very weird. I think it has to do with when one is on some amount of elevation. I don't know. We'll just need to do more investigation on that. For now, it's a relatively harmless, kind of funny bug, so I'm not particularly worried about it. Bippy's wandering around. Bippy's living their best life right now. I'm here for that. I'm here for Bippy. This is definitely like a Bippy for president kind of moment. Well, this is actually a pretty good stopping point. So, let's shift views a little bit. All right. So, where we're leaving off right now, we've got some proper camera follow functionality. We've got little messages showing up in the corner there. Marvin's waiting patiently, right? That's good. Wandering around. We love to see it. That's progress. We've got group activities, joinable with some amount of chattering, right? But this weird tilting behavior, I don't know what's going on there. I really don't quite know yet what causes that. But yeah, we're coming along. I'm excited. I think we're yet again another tangible step closer to sort of what I'm hoping for from this prototype. So we're getting closer. We're making progress. That's what we got to see. Now, as far as what we want between now and next stream, right? I'll have to think about that. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be working on between now and next stream, because just about everything we wanted to try to do, we got going, right? Other than the group join chatter. Group join chatter, that's something we can do next stream, because we got to be thinking about join radius. We got to be making sure that the activity is joinable, right? Because not all of the activities that allow other people to join in allow literally anyone to join in. So a difference is if it's an everyone can join activity, then the activity in question doesn't need to be on the activity list of that particular drone. So hypothetically, if we had another variety of drone separate from these little room bots, right? A different kind of drone that didn't have the chatter activity, but it was near other drones that were currently chattering. If it was an anyone can join activity, then it would be able to chatter, even though chatter is not one of its activities. So I guess if we really want to test that, we need another type of drone. So we need to go from just room bots to room bot plus some other kind of guy, another different kind of guy, right? And we need another activity that is at least binary or group, but not everyone can join it. And then we need to restrict it so that there's some exclusions. We can test that, right? That's a pretty good bunch of goals for next stream, for by end of next stream, right? We have another type of guy, we have another type of activity, we test joinability, we have a join radius, we can try to do big group activities, maybe throw some more little guys into there now that I've made the like pathfinding algorithm a little bit, or the way that the pathfinding algorithm is being called, a little more efficient, right? But yeah, I think that's our goals. That's going to be our goals for next stream, or between now and end of next stream, rather. So that's it for today. Thanks, y'all, for hanging with me. It's been fun. I really appreciate the support and the viewers and the chatters, right? And we've got little guys that are up to stuff, right? We're making progress. Anyways, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.